Okay, so I'd like to call the meeting to order. And before we begin, we'd like to honor and thank our community partners of the First Nations, the Anishinaabe. I'll read the motion and then I'll need a first mover and a seconder. That the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby convene this special meeting of Council at 2 p.m. in order to consider the following matters. Crossroads Restaurant request for municipal approval for the extension of patio services under provincial regulations during COVID-19. Could I have a motion from Art?
I'll move that.
And a seconder from Gail?
I second that.
All in favor? Thank you, and that's carried. Thank you all for joining us on such short notice, and hopefully it will not be too long a meeting. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof? No? Okay, we will move on to the business. First of all, I guess I'll ask you, Michelle, to go over the municipal
the report? Yeah.
The report,
Sure.
basically. So, I should read this first, the whole thing?
Yeah.
Oh my, sorry. This is a long one. Whereas the Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario has announced temporary measures to allow liquor sales licensees to increase the size of their patios or add a new patio once they are again permitted to welcome patrons on site, subject to several conditions including the municipality in which the premises is situated, has indicated it does not object to an extension. Therefore, be it resolved that where a liquor sales licensee proposes to increase the size of their patio or add a new patio once they are again permitted to welcome patrons on site, subject to the licensees complying with the conditions required by the Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario, and the proposed patio extension and patio is not located on Township of Seguin-owned property, the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin has no objections to such an extension. Number 2, where liquor sales licensee proposes to increase the size of their patios or add a new patio once they are again permitted to welcome patrons on site, subject to the licensees complying with the conditions required by the Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario. The said proposed patio extension, will be extending onto Township of Seguin-owned property. The licensee must provide the Township staff with a layout of how they intend to utilize the property and proof of insurance. Once senior Township staff, namely the Fire Chief, Director of Public Works, and Chief Administrative Officer, or their designates, are satisfied that the expansion can be done safely and without hindering Township operations, Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby delegate the authority to the Chief Administrative Officer or their designate to provide a letter of non-objection to the licensee. So that's the resolution. Could I have a motion from Terry?
Yeah, moved.
Thank you. And a seconder from Art?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to ask Michelle to take you a little bit through what I just read, kind of. It is what it is, to explain the differences.
So the council resolution is basically what's in the report. And the Alcohol and Gaming Commission speaks to council being able to provide a blanket resolution for any of the by-the-glass licensees in the township to expand their patio. So that's what number 1 is. So anyone that's expanding the patio and there's nothing on township property, all they really need is this blanket we approve, or we don't object. Sorry, I should be specific about that. The second one is where you have the issue of expanding onto a township road allowance or township property. And as we discussed the other day, that needs a little bit more information and a little bit more investigation, because if they do happen to expand onto township property and it impinges township operations, we don't want that to happen. So basically what this does is it gives the council, or it gives the blanket resolution required by AGCO, but if they want to expand on township property, they need something a bit more.
And Dawn, do you want to take us through a little bit of the background, because we're talking specifically about Crossroads here?
Yeah, I think as everyone knows, at council last week, it came up that they had put tables right to the basically almost 141. So I met with them. Gail and I were tasked by council to go and meet with them. Gail and I chatted, and between our conversation, we agreed that I would go and meet with them first, which I did, and explained to Richard what we felt was a requirement. And he was quite in compliance, understood that. I think at that point then, Mayor got a phone call from Julie the next day, basically saying, Richard's a chef, I make the decisions on where the tables go. So I went back and talked with Julie and explained to her the situation. By the time I got back, the tables actually were all gone. They had actually put them around the back. So we reviewed what options could be possible. I told them that we were prepared to, with the help of Tom McLeod from Public Works, to actually locate the survey pins. They have a metal detector for that. We have a survey map that was done when they put the patio in, and it identifies where those pins are, which would give us an exact line to work off of. So I had suggested we would go back on Monday, which is this coming Monday, and review that. They asked about putting tables close to the building. If you were familiar, there's a wood pile there. And that wood pile, the first 10 feet approximately in that area is definitely their property. And I said, yeah, that would be a location that possibly could be used. And then they asked also, as you go to enter the patio on the right, could they put a table or two? Which again, that would have to be determined. Is it 100% their property? If it isn't, they could move the table back onto their property. So that's where it was left, that it was set up that way. And I went by last night, and I believe Gail drove by yesterday as well. And it's a busy place, to say the least, because I didn't realize, but they still do a lot of curbside pickups, like a lot. So people were coming and going. And that's basically where it was left.
Okay, and Gail, do you want to raise the issue about the truck?
Absolutely. And that was raised with Dawn as well.
Yeah.
And I was under the impression that Tom went with you already. I'm a little disappointed that that didn't happen. But there's a van, the Crossroads has parked their van in the spot that they vacated. And I'm not happy with that, and neither are the people in the town. They think they're going to park their van and leave it there in the spot that they vacated. So I'm not happy with that. That's a parking spot. It's on the road. It's not on their property. And I want the van moved. I want it moved to their parking lot. And if they want signs there that say 15-minute parking for people who park there to go to the post office, whatever, that's fine. But I'm not happy with them parking their van. And Dawn has already spoken to them about it, and they didn't move it. They wouldn't move it. Dawn spoke to them about moving the van. And I'm just disappointed, that's all. We went through a lot of trouble. A lot of people put a lot of time into this to help them. And now they're mad because we won't let them park in the spot permanently. I'm not happy. So that's what I have to say about that. And I want the van moved. I think that it's our road. It's not their road. And I don't think they should be able to park their, catering van in the spot that's available to other people.
Yes, so we really have two issues here. The one issue is with respect to the patio extension for all of the establishments in Seguin Township. The second issue is with respect to parking. So Dawn, what options do we have with respect to the parking issue?
At present, we have one area in the town itself, town proper, that has limited on parking, and that's in front of the post office. We also have signage and spots down at the beach where trucks and trailers can park. Those are the two areas that are regulated. to my knowledge, everywhere else in Rosso, people can park. There's no time limit. If they want to park an extra vehicle, as long as it's off the road, and people do it periodically. Don't get a lot, but you get some. There's certain, without mentioning names, there's places where I've seen a vehicle for 2 or 3 weeks and then it disappears and you never see it again. So whether it was someone visiting, whatever, they were parked on the side of the road, taking up a space. The lady with the chip truck parks, it's on 141, but still parking in right dead center of town, and she parks there all day, doesn't move. So that's basically the whole parking issue. We do ticket for parking. We've ticketed in front of the post office. It's not unusual, as almost weekly we ticket for the boat launch, because people without a trailer will park there and they end up with a ticket. They can also not park there overnight, so we've ticketed for that as well down by the boat launch.
Okay, so really, I think as Michelle has explained, we have two issues. One being the patio work and one being the parking issue. So what I'd like to do is stick to the patio issue. Yeah, I see I've got some little blue hands, both for Terry Fellner and Gail Vincent. So Terry, go ahead.
Okay, so I actually had a discussion with Craig yesterday. I was going to bring this matter up, I think, and I'm glad that Michelle sort of brought it up for me. But I believe there's two issues too, and there's the issue of the patio, and that's we know where that's going to go. But historically, I think that this business is used public property, to conduct business on, or prevented the public from using the property, and particularly the parking across from the post office, the fire pit, Skoka chairs. I don't know if they're on our land or they're on their land, or I guess when you survey the property boundary, Don, you'll find out. But I think before we go ahead, I think we need to solve, and I guess we don't use road occupation permits or that thing. We use another agreement. I forget what Craig called it. Michelle, help me out. If someone wants a lease agreement, I guess it's called, maybe for public property.
A licensing agreement?
A licensing agreement. And I think that, to Gail's point, they can't put their tables there, they put their vans there. She doesn't want anybody to park there. They move planters in the way so people can't park there. And she's got to know that we'll play ball with her, but she's got to play ball with us. It's our land. And if she wants to apply to use it for something other than what it was intended for, which was parking and public access, then she's going to have to go. In my opinion, she should be, entering into a licensing agreement with a site plan, and senior staff and Gail, I think, should be involved and agree to, okay, this is what we're amenable to this, or we're not. There's two separate issues, but I think we need to solve both of them at this time, because if we don't, it's just going to drag on, and then you're going to have issues like today again with the van and planters some other time. And I've had different people comment to me over the years that, why are they in there? That's for parking. It always was for parking. So I think we should solve, my opinion, we should kill both of these birds at the same time.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Vincent?
Hi, what I want to say is, now we're still not aware whether the property belongs to them or not. That's what I heard. You haven't gone and done whatever you were going to do with Tom, which is what I asked to happen. And I'm so surprised it wasn't done. So now we still don't know whether they're on our property or their property. And we've come to this meeting because I thought that we were clear on whose was what. And about the parking issue, it's not like that I care that their van is there. What I'm saying is people are complaining because that is town property. And the Crossroads doesn't have the right to park their van there full-time all the time because they don't want parking. Because as soon as they move that van, someone's going to park their car there and they're not going to move it and they're not going to like it. And that we don't want that. I don't want them fighting with each other. We went through a lot of trouble to get this to happen. I am not happy with the way they treated us. We have been very fair, and I thought I was very clear on what I expected to happen, and now it hasn't been done, and we're like guessing again. You know, oh, we think this is yours, and you can put this here, and you can say no parking there, but it doesn't belong to you. I'm really disappointed. I'm like, I just can't believe it was a difficult thing, and I thought we called this meeting because all those things were done. Anyway, I'm just disappointed. I'm really disappointed in the whole thing. I just wish everybody would have talked and cooperated with each other and done what they had said they were going to do. And I know it's two separate issues, but it stems from the same thing. We got them to move the tables off the property. Then what I heard from Dawn was, well, they parked it there for safety reasons. And I said, well, that's not true because they had tables there with waitresses walking on the road. That was unsafe. Now we've asked them to move it so they park their van because it's not safe. I'm sorry. I'm just disappointed. And you know, you can't suck and blow. You can't have it both ways. You've got to, everybody's got to cooperate with everybody. And I'm disappointed. I know they're two separate issues, Michelle, but they stemmed from the same thing. They stemmed from us trying to help them, you know, help them do what they need to do.
Okay, let's let Dawn speak. Yeah, go ahead, Dawn.
Thank you, Mayor. Just in response, Councillor Vincent, I had set up a meeting on Tuesday morning to go with Tom McLeod at 8:30. I was there at 8:30. Tom texted me and said he had an emergency come up. He could also not locate the metal locator that the township owns. That was located yesterday, and I now have it in my office. And now we're in the middle of, I was trying to respect the fact that they were carrying on a business and didn't want to show up in the middle of a day when they're preparing for the evening. So is that an excuse? You decide.
Okay, but let's get back to the patio resolution of 1 and 2. I respect what Councillor Fellner is saying, is that he would like us to solve both of them, but we have a resolution that deals specifically with patios that I believe we have, certainly for number 1, where the patio is expansion is on their own private property. I think we should allow that whenever it's asked. And on the second one, there are some insurance issues that need to be provided, and a sketch that I think are reasonable things that should happen. And I also believe that in order to avoid more special meetings, it is wonderful to designate the authority to the CAO in future on this. So that's the resolution we have on the table. And I think I would like to deal with it and then move on to parking. Can we do that? Oh, I got a whole lot of green hands. So, Councillor Cole, blue hand.
Just make sure I'm unmuted. Yeah, for number 1, there's no reason why we can't approve that today. I don't see any reason at all. Number 2, I would suggest that we approve it based on Gail and Dawn meeting on site and agreeing with them, and they produce a plan of where the table should be. And I'm not fussed about them using our property. If you go to the city of Toronto, the tables all over the sidewalks, which are city property. They do that to accommodate businesses. So I'm not fussed about that part of it. I am about the safety issue, where it impedes or causes a safety problem, and that's where Dawn comes in. It has to be safe, and it has to be between ourselves and them that this is the limit of their patio. End of story. They need to produce a plan. And I think if we put those conditions on it, we can approve that today.
Councillor Fellner. Oh, you're still on mute, Terry.
Or there's not enough people on today. The screen does funny things to me. I don't know. I mean, I think we're putting the cart before the horse before we know where the property line is.
All part of the same.
I mean, I think that, why don't we just push it? I don't mind getting on another meeting and deal with it, but And the other thing, quite frankly, why are we bearing the expense to find our property line that they want to use? Usually it's the person that wants to use the property that pays to have it surveyed out. But I mean, that's neither here nor there. But to me, I think you need to establish where the line is. That you can decide what you want to do. That's sort of my.
Okay, just a question to you, Dawn. Are the tables currently all on their property?
Tables beside the wood pile are definitely on their property. There are two tables that as you enter the actual patio, of which part of might be on our property. That's where, until we establish that final line. My suggestion would be is I could talk to Tom this afternoon and we could go in the morning and again, before they get busy, to establish that. If those two tables are not on our property, they go. It's that simple.
Okay, just a second. The clerk has something.
I think I have to clarify something here. What council asked for and what has been proposed by staff is a policy on this. It has nothing to do with Crossroads only. And this policy says, basically, if the proposed extension is on their private property, council has no objection. And that's blanket for the municipality. So anybody that asks. It says if it's not on their property, it's on township property, there's conditions they have to meet before the CAO would be delegated authority to provide the letter of no objection, period. That's what you're dealing with on the resolution. Has nothing to do with Crossroads. Now, if Crossroads requests might be on township property, then they fall into item number 2. They don't automatically get non-objection. They have to provide stuff in that proof before they would get that non-objection. So keep in mind, differentiate that. Your issue with Crossroads is not an issue with the policy that's on the table. They're two different things. Crossroads just falls under the policy if you approve the policy, and at this point, in my opinion, would fall under number 2, which means they don't get the letter until they provide certain stuff.
Thank you for the clarification. Councillor Finson, you have your hand up.
That was my point. My point is we don't know whether they're on the property and if they want to move those tables. I'm not against approving it. I'm just upset about the van, and I think that should be dealt with at some point. I'm not upset about approving them to get their license for on their own property. That doesn't bother me one bit. And yes, they should have it, but it's just hard to, when they do stuff like that. That's all. I'm not against the liquor license for those pieces. And Dawn, I agree with you. We could move those tables. That's not a problem. You can do it under one, assuming that they're on their property. But, we should stretch our neck like that and then get upset because they're going to park their van. I know that you say people park down the road where there's no other cars for 2 weeks. That's different, Dawn, and that's different. This is different. The whole reason that people complained is because that's where they go to the post office. They get in, they get out, they go and do their thing. And the Crossroads doesn't have a right to park their van permanently there, because what's going to happen if they move that van one day is somebody is going to park there in both spots because they're allowed to. I just know that's going to happen. I get the phone calls. So I'm not upset about them getting permission. And I think, I would be happy to give them permission to have their patio extended because I support them. But I don't support this kind of behavior that they think they can just do that because they can.
Okay, let's get back to the resolution. We have one final comment from Councillor Fellner, and then I would like to call a vote.
Okay. My comment, I'm back on mute again.
No, you're not. No, you're not. You were okay.
Oh, I'm not this time. Okay. My final comment is this. Now that the esteemed clerk has explained things properly to me, is that, and our CAO is well aware of what our concerns are with, that I'm fine with the resolution.
Okay.
Good to go with me.
Call a vote on the resolution.
Yes, because what we can do after the resolution, if council wants more, the clerk can do a resolution directing staff to do something more with respect to the parking.
Okay, so let's vote on the 2-part resolution that is on the table. Do you want me to read it again? It is for the entire township. So one handles anybody that's completely on their own property, and item 2 handles what they need to do if they are using township property. But it would apply to any applicant that has, what do they call it, a glass sale?
By the glass.
By the glass license. So, all in favor of the resolution as it was read? 1, 2, 3, and myself. So it's carried. Thank you.
So just before we move on to the parking issue, we were notified on Friday about a requirement that we may have to have a temporary use bylaw for these extended patios. And that it's to cut red tape and it's to be passed very quickly, but we haven't actually seen anything from the province that tells us how to do this or what it is they have to have in this temporary use bylaw. So that might be coming back to council at the next council meeting,
But we don't know.
but we don't know. So I just wanted to let you know that the issue hasn't died completely. There might be more, but what's happening is the province makes an announcement and then they get into the rules and we have to do more stuff, so.
Okay. Now,
So
I turn over to the clerk.
I believe the members of council have identified 2 potential items they would like to deal with. One potentially being a parking matter, and one potentially being, whether or not a private business is utilizing township property.
Okay, I think the parking one is kind of most topical now, but, I mean, we have an agreement, for instance, with the Rossville Market. They use township property under an agreement.
That's in a rental agreement,
So,
though.
and they're renting
Yeah.
our property, just
So-
like somebody renting a community hall
Yeah.
for a wedding. So how do you recommend we deal with the parking issue?
I would suggest that you direct staff to investigate it and report back, if it needs to report back. I don't know if there's anything wrong with what they're doing under our laws. So I would suggest you direct staff to look into that, and if there isn't anything being done wrong, that should come back to council. If there is something against one of our bylaws, that's already in place for bylaw enforcement to take care of. So, then Don could speak to that, he's bylaw enforcement.
Yeah, Terry, do you still have your hand up, or is that from the last comment?
Well, I don't, but I don't. I'm afraid to get out of this screen now. Just a second. Okay, I'll take it. Get rid of it.
I can
Okay,
take that down for you.
we can make the little blue hand go away. We know how to do
Oh,
that.
I got it.
Okay, and Councillor Fenton, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I'd just like to say that people are complaining about the van being parked there. It's parked the wrong way, heading towards the road so that the sign is to the road. It's advertising their catering business. They're blocking the spot. I am totally opposed to it being, I don't care if there's no signs, then maybe we should get signs there because I think it's wrong and people are complaining. And I just can't, I don't know how to explain to them that, oh, this is okay. I just don't know how to explain that to them. I don't know how. I'm really disappointed in the whole thing. I'm sorry.
Okay. Terry, your hand's back
Well-
up.
Okay, I can put my hand back up. Why can't we just designate those 3 parking spots as, short-term parking, so I go, Don, I'm what, sign them for 15 minutes, 30 minutes, and then somebody stays longer, you can go ticket them. In the message.
Yeah.
That's what it is across the street, correct? Right in the little pullover by the post office, those are our
Yeah.
signs that say 10 or
Yes.
15 minutes max?
Yeah. I mean, they're not really long-term parking spots. They're, to Gail's point, they're for slipping into the post office or slipping into Crossroads, some food, or running across the street and going to the Rosso General Store and you get what you want and get on your way, So why don't we just sign them accordingly, and then anybody parking there long-term is in violation, and you can have remedy against it. And then when you post it as a parking spot, then it's pretty clear that that's what it is. It's a parking spot. There isn't a sign, you really don't know what it is, right? So that would be
Don,
my
what
suggestion.
would we have to do in order to designate those parking spots right there as 15 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever it is, like it's across the road?
Sorry, are you asking me, Michelle?
Yeah.
Yes, I was,
Oh,
sorry.
I apologize. Sorry, I thought you were talking to Craig.
No. I don't want.
Craig's maybe the better one to answer, but I would think there would have to be a process, no different than when we signed the sidewalks last fall, I believe, about not clearing for the winter months. That was a resolution that went through council.
Aye. This is through you to council. My thought at this point is it would likely be an amendment to a bylaw. There would, if those 15-minute limits were put in by Seguin, they would probably be under the consolidated traffic bylaw. And we'd have to look at that, what the process is to amend that. If they were put in by Russell before that, then we have to look at the whole process. I don't know how long those have been there.
As long as I can remember.
See, they might not have been by Seguin. So that's what I meant by, if council gives direction to staff, if you want to look at, let's say, putting a maximum time limit on parking in those spots, that would be the direction to staff to look at. And if necessary, they would come back to council with what has to be done. If they can just do it, then they would just post.
Go do it.
So,
Makes sense.
for example, if it was to direct staff to review the parking situation and possible use of township road allowance at crossroads, report back to council with findings and options, including possible time limits on parking. Is that acceptable? Yes.
Councillor Simpson?
I thought he said that you can either do the signs if it's only a change, or bring it back to council. Isn't that what he said? What did you say, Craig? Sorry.
If the bylaw allowed us to just do it,
There,
the current
yes.
one, then we could do it.
But we
Right.
don't know.
But if it did.
No, but if it does, then they can just go ahead and do it. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
He said it already, but if not, then he has to come to council.
The only thing that council would have to give us right now is what you would prefer for that maximum time amount, be it 15 minutes or whatever.
15 minutes, I think, would be great.
Is it, I think it should be the same as what's in front of the
Yeah.
post office.
Me too.
I think it's 15 minutes, okay.
So,
Go ahead, Don.
sorry. Craig, online, the parking traffic bylaw was consolidated in 2015. Is that a help to you at all about indicating as it could be possibly originally Rosso, or was it actually done through Seguin?
That may be part of it, but that's something we will have to research.
Okay.
Okay, well, I'm comfortable that what Michelle has written out would be direction to staff to investigate the ability to limit the time to 15 minutes. If it is within the purview of the township, just putting up the signs, go ahead. If we need to come back to council, it would come back in the 20th. Our people, we're just creating, what is it, a resolution?
Yep.
Yeah, okay, creating a resolution that would say that. But if we find that we're allowed to put up parking signs there, then just go ahead and do it.
Absolutely.
If we have any. That's the other question. You, Councillor Felder, you're gonna have to unmute this time.
Oh, now you guys have disappeared.
No,
I think you're gonna find in the old days that actually probably a lot of that area was driveway into the old G&G, because the gas pumps were right out there, and that's
Yeah.
what people didn't know. So probably Rosso didn't have any kind of parking thing on it. I would think it, the parking would have came after those tanks were pulled out, right? It wasn't a driveway entrance anymore. So
Yep.
might be a bit of a gray area.
Well, for those of us that are old enough to know that we ate many days at the G&G restaurant that preceded Crossroads, you're probably right. There weren't any
Yeah.
rules.
There was a lot of good butter tarts eaten in that place. That's all I
And
can
a lot
say.
of good milkshakes.
Yeah, a lot of good milkshakes. It was $1 only.
Yeah, well, and penny candy.
Yeah, that was Gary's big line. It's $1 only, quarter only.
Okay, I have a motion that council directs staff to review the parking situation and possible use of the township road allowance at Crossroads and report back to council with findings and options, including a 15-minute time limit on those spots. Can we add to that if there are no resolutions, go ahead and sign it? So if,
If,
allowable?
if no council approval is required,
Yes, if no council.
further council approval is required.
No further council approval is required. Staff are directed to post time limit signs.
On the parking space.
On the parking. Have to be very specific.
Should we talk about Crossroads, or should we talk about the intersection of 141 and Cardwell Road?
The situation's specific to Crossroads. Right now, anyway. So, I
Okay.
think that's specific enough direction that we can understand what it is you want.
Okay, so I'm going to read the whole motion again. The council directs staff to review the parking situation and possible use of the township road allowance at Crossroads and report back to council with findings and options, including a 15-minute time limit on those spots. If no further council approval is required, staff are directed to post time limit signs on the parking area. Can I have a motion to that effect from Art? Can you
I'll move that. Yes.
And seconded, are you prepared to second it, Gail?
Yes.
All in favor? Okay, so it's carried.
I see Councillor Fellner had a third.
Oh, Councillor Fellner has his hand up again? No?
Oh, no, no, no.
Like,
Oh, licensing.
use of township property.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
right.
Yes, we'll deal with
I
it.
think it will, yes.
Okay, are there any other items of business?
No,
So I need some more paperwork.
Yes. He's got his hand up or no?
No, Councillor Fellner, no, he said he does not have a hand up.
Okay.
He waved it away. Okay, I have bylaw number 2020-066, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of meetings of council, is hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. Could I have a motion, Terry?
yes, moved.
Seconded, Art?
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. Shortest council. That council of the corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby adjourn this special meeting of council at 2:38 p.m. to meet again on Monday, July 20th, 2020, or at the call of the mayor. Could I have a motion, Gail?
I so move.
And Terry, can you second it for me?
Yeah, I second that motion.
All in favor? Thank you very much for giving up your part of your afternoon on short notice.